Being beautiful doesn't protect you. Being pregnant doesn't protect you. Being home doesn't protect you. Sometimes evil just shows up at your door because someone else used to live there. Sharon Tate was 26 years old, an actress, the kind of beauty people compared to Marilyn Monroe. If you watched movies in the late 60s, you saw her in Valley of the Dolls, The Fearless Vampire Killers. She'd just finished filming The Wrecking Crew with Dean Martin, and critics said she had real comedic talent. Her career was finally taking off after years of being told she was too pretty to be taken seriously, which is Hollywood's favorite way of telling women they don't matter. She was married to Roman Polanski, a director, 8.5 months pregnant, 2 weeks from her due date. They'd already named the baby, Paul Richard Polanski. She had a house in Los Angeles at 150 Cielo Drive, a garden she was excited about. She was learning martial arts from Bruce Lee, because apparently she was just casually friends with Bruce Lee. She joked with neighbors about trying to lose 10 pounds, that universal human anxiety that feels so small now. August 5th, 1969, Sharon had dinner with friends at El Coyote Cafe. Jay Sebring, her ex-boyfriend turned close friend, Wojciech Frykowski, and Abigail Folger, a couple staying at her house. Normal Friday night, they returned home around 10:30 p.m. Roman was in London working on a film. He'd be back in time for the birth. Shortly after midnight, 4 members of Charles Manson's cult arrived at the property. Charles Tex Watson, Susan Atkins, Patricia Krenwinkel, and Linda Kasabian. They'd been sent there by Manson himself, not because of anything Sharon had done, but because a record producer who'd rejected Manson used to rent that house. Wrong address for revenge, right address for murder. They killed Stephen Parent first, 18 years old, visiting the property's caretaker, shot 4 times in his car in the driveway. Then they went inside. Sharon's ex, Jay Sebring, was second, beaten, shot, and stabbed, followed by Wojciech Frykowski. Abigail Folger almost escaped before she was stabbed 28 times. Sharon was last. Susan Atkins held her. Sharon begged. This is the part that matters. This is the part that shows you exactly who Sharon Tate was in her final moments. Please let me go. All I want to do is have my baby. Not save me. Not I'm famous. Not my husband will pay you. Just let me have my baby. Let this one thing happen. Let Paul be born. Susan Atkins looked at this pregnant woman, this terrified, pleading, 8.5 months pregnant woman, and said, "Woman, I have no mercy for you." And then it happened. 16 stab wounds, 5 of them fatal on their own. The coroner's report noted Sharon was still alive when they put a rope around her neck, connecting her body to Jay Sebring's. Sharon's last word was, "Mother," calling out for her mom. Then they wrote "pig" on the front door, in her blood. The housekeeper found the bodies the next morning. Roman Polanski was informed in London. He flew back immediately. On August 13th, Sharon was born at Holy Cross Cemetery in Culver City with her unborn son, the baby boy who never got to be Paul. Roman gave away everything he owned, couldn't bear the reminders. He later wrote that since Sharon's death, his enjoyment of life has been incomplete. Sharon's mother, Doris Tate, would spend the rest of her life attending parole hearings, confronting the killers, advocating for victims' rights. She asked Ted Watson directly, "What mercy did you show my daughter when she said, 'Give me 2 weeks to have my baby, and then you can kill me'?" So, what killed Sharon Tate? Officially, 16 stab wounds. Realistically, the wrong forwarding address and a failed musician's ego. The murders weren't personal, they were random. Charles Manson sent his followers to that house because Terry Melcher, the record producer who'd rejected him, used to live there before moving away. Sharon moved in, and because Manson's grasp on reality was about as solid as his music career, he sent 4 people to murder whoever lived there now. The address was the target. Sharon just happened to be there. That's it. That's the reason. Sharon Tate died because she had the cosmic misfortune of renting a house from the wrong landlord. The lesson? There isn't one. That's the point. That's the horror. We want lessons. No, we need lessons, because lessons mean patterns, and patterns mean predictability. And predictability means that maybe we can avoid this. But you can't avoid randomness. You can't outsmart chaos. Sharon Tate did everything right. She was home. She was careful. She was 2 weeks from bringing life into the world. And evil showed up anyway. Not because of her, not even for her, just because she was there. The Manson family thought they were starting a revolution. They thought they were making a statement. Instead, they killed a pregnant woman 2 weeks from motherhood and 4 other people who were just trying to exist on a Friday night. They just proved that sometimes the universe is exactly as meaningless as it appears. You can be 8.5 months pregnant, begging for 2 more weeks, pleading to let one innocent thing happen, and the answer is still no. Sharon Tate spent 26 years being beautiful, talented, and kind. Took 1 address and 6 hours to learn that innocence doesn't matter. Goodness doesn't matter. Being 2 weeks from motherhood doesn't matter. The light doesn't always win. Sometimes it just goes out. Drowning is supposed to require water, right? Nah. Turns out, if you're creative enough with pharmaceuticals, you can drown in the comfort of your own bed. Jimi Hendrix, the guy who the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame called arguably the greatest instrumentalist in the history of rock music, exited existence at 27 by asphyxiating on the contents of his own stomach. He drowned from the inside out while unconscious in a London apartment, purple-faced, covered in vomit, but worst of all, completely alone. It's 1970, the last time the Earth would circle the sun with Hendrix on it, and the year his life started falling apart. He was dealing with 2 lawsuits, a paternity case, and a contract dispute. 2 parasites feeding on him simultaneously, one claiming his DNA, another claiming his signature. He wanted out of his management deal. His bass player just quit due to severe exhaustion and paranoia. Hendrix himself hadn't slept properly in weeks. Chronic overwork, the kind of burnout where your body starts making executive decisions without consulting you, and what people assumed was the flu. He told friends, "I can't focus to write any songs." He even left a message on his former manager's answering machine. "I need help bad, man." But that help, it never showed up. On September 17th, Hendrix spent his last evening before becoming a corpse with his girlfriend, Monica Danneman. They went to a party around 1:45 a.m., where he took at least 1 amphetamine tablet, the kind called black bombers, to stay awake, because when you're exhausted, obviously the solution is chemical wakefulness. They returned to her apartment around 3 a.m. Hendrix, in a shocking turn of absolutely predictable events, found sleep impossible. The chemical wakefulness was working exactly as advertised. So around 4 a.m., struggling with drug-induced insomnia, he asked Danneman for sleeping tablets. She gave him Vesperax, powerful sedatives, barbiturates, the kind that shut your brain off like a light switch. The recommended dose is half a tablet for 8 hours of biochemical shutdown. Hendrix took 9. That's 18 times the recommended dose, 1.8 grams of sedative. That's not taking sleeping pills, that's chemically induced coma. And to make matters worse, he'd already drunk the equivalent of 4 pints of beer. Barbiturates are central nervous system depressants. They don't just make you sleepy, they shut down your automatic reflexes, including your cough reflex. You know, that annoying thing that stops you from drowning when you vomit. Add alcohol, another depressant, and you've essentially unplugged your body's survival autopilot. When Hendrix vomited around 6 a.m., his body couldn't react. The vomit filled his throat, his airway, his lungs. He asphyxiated slowly over hours while unconscious, drowning in his own stomach contents. his respiratory system too chemically paralyzed to save him. When Danneman woke around 11 a.m., Hendrix was unconscious, covered in vomit, turning the color of oxygen deprivation. She summoned an ambulance at 11:18 a.m. By the time paramedics arrived at 11:27 a.m., Hendrix was alone in the apartment? Yeah, Danneman had ditched him for some reason. At St. Mary Abbott's Hospital, doctors attempted resuscitation, but that's just a formality. Hendrix had been dead for hours. So, what killed him? Human desperation meeting chemical ignorance. Exhaustion killed judgment. Amphetamines created artificial insomnia. 9 sedatives suppressed his ability to breathe reflexively. Alcohol amplified everything, and vomit finished the job. The lesson isn't don't take pills. It's that you cannot chemically override biology. You can't chemically force your body through opposing extremes. Stimulants to stay awake, then sedatives to crash, without catastrophic consequences. Sleep deprivation isn't fixable with stimulants and sedatives. Rest isn't optional, and sleeping pills aren't sleep. Jimi Hendrix spent 27 years making guitars sing like they had souls, and it took him 9 pills and 6 hours to learn that biology doesn't care about your discography. Silent film star, dead at 24. Cause of death? Fashion and fire. Martha Mansfield spent years building a career as an actress and model. Over 300 photographs, Broadway productions, silent films. Her face was her fortune. Her beauty was her brand. And then someone tossed a lit match. On November 29, 1923, San Antonio, Texas, Mansfield was filming The Warrens of Virginia, a Civil War drama. She'd just wrapped her scenes as Agatha Warren and retreated to a car during a break. She was wearing her costume, hoop skirts, flimsy ruffles, the kind of 1960s period fabric that's basically decorative kindling. Then, whoosh, flames. A tossed match, origin unknown, ignited her costume. The fire spread instantly. Within seconds, Martha Mansfield became a human torch. Her co-star Wilfred Little threw his overcoat over her, saving her face and neck. The chauffeur burned his hands trying to rip the flaming fabric off her body. They extinguished the fire, but 90% of her body was already charred. She was rushed to a hospital where she lingered in agony for hours before dying the next day of burns of all extremities, general toxemia, and suppression of urine, which is just fancy medical terminology for her body shut down from catastrophic trauma. Okay, but who caused this? Well, they never figured out who threw the match. Some witnesses said they saw it fly through the car window. Others theorized Mansfield lit a cigarette to calm her nerves and accidentally dropped it. Her mother dismissed that story, said smoking made Martha uncomfortable. So, mystery forever. She spent years crafting an image, took one match and 10 seconds to erase it. The silent film star died silently. No screams made it to historical record, just flames, and then nothing.